I'm so sick at the twisted power here. And we give them the power and the authority to say anything to anyone. And as long as they're saying it on the floor or in an official job, no one can say anything about it. But that's only the beginning of this problem. Here she is talking to Elliot Abrams, and she's driving to a point about Venezuela. I want you to listen to Representative Omar.
Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair.
We have to stop. We have to stop. The Iran-Contra affair? You put somebody in Congress that has never heard of the Iran-Contra affair? Obviously, she's never heard of it. She's reading this. If you see the visual, she is reading it approximately 6 inches away from the paper. Her head is almost all the way down in the desk because she has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. She has no idea what she's talking about, and she thinks it's the Iran-Contra affair because the N looks like an R. So she says Contra. This woman is in Congress. She was Congress. She doesn't even know what the Iran-Contra affair is. And worse than that, she's in the middle of an attack against someone based on something she knows nothing about.
So let's continue on. You're going to need duct tape.
For which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question. That was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question.
This is un-American. And this is not her that does it. This happens on both sides. But this is un-American. You cannot continue down this road where these clowns can say whatever they want and you can't respond. If I were him, I would have gotten up. I would not have sat there for this. This is an outrageous attack. And it's not just that. It goes much worse. Listen.
In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no? Do you still think so? Yes or no? Do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of person.
Stop. Do you think the massacre? It's a yes or no question. No, I don't. I'll take that as a yes. Excuse me? Excuse me? First of all, what do you think about America that you could even ask that question? There isn't a single American that likes the idea that a massacre happened and we were somehow or another at all involved. America does not like the idea and will go after any troop, and we should, and put them in Leavenworth for the rest of their life if they're killing, maiming, raping people. They are there to protect people. If anyone in our service is there, I can guarantee you it would be 99.9% of the population that would say, yeah, they should rot in Leavenworth.
Of course.
The only reason why it might be lower is because they would think people like this will take and twist it, and now you're held for war crimes for something that you were asked to do.
You're right. Well, war
in liberation.
War is ugly. However, rape of 12-year-olds is never involved in it. There's never part of a policy, at least of the United States, that exists for that.
Never. And how dare you? This is an American congresswoman who now says, do you think that was good policy? That was not our policy. But wait, there's more. Listen to the rest.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Good for you.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place, and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld, is a fair question. Because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be.
You are lecturing. You
we
really
believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there is a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
That is always the position of the United States.
Thank you.
You are not going to get a serious person to take a serious job in this country if that's who you put in Congress. That is the most insulting thing I've ever heard. Now, there are bad guys, in Congress. There are bad guys in government. There are bad guys in the public sphere. But if you really, truly believe that American interests come above genocide in a country where we are in.
Laughable.
It's laughable, especially how dare you as a Muslim, say those things while we have been fighting and freeing slaves that Muslims have taken because they started a deadly caliphate because we tried to free people.